Hi, Suz. I'm so excited to talk to you today. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
My pleasure. We were just saying we're like old friends who have never met.
It is really weird. And honestly, I feel like from being like, I think of myself as like old school blogging, early coaching online business. And that is such a thing that you have all these people that you've met around the world and just have never actually properly met in person or even spoken to face to face.
I know, but you totally feel like you know them. Like
Absolutely.
it's for me, this is not a strange connection. I'm just like, so I saw you the other day, like what's
Yeah.
happening? Like it's just like old friends.
Yeah, I love it so much. And I knew as soon as we started talking, I was like, oh, it really is like we're old friends. That's so funny.
Yeah, yeah. It's nice when you meet somebody and you're like, yes, you are the same online
Yes.
as you are in person, because that does not always happen.
Absolutely. And in fact, one of our mutual friends, Julie Parker, when I was first starting my business, I remember her distinctly saying this that you want to have the kind of online presence that when somebody meets you, they go, you're exactly who I thought you would be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I always start with one question and normally we go into it straight away, but we've kind of started to circle around what you do and what I know our conversation is actually going to end up being so much about today. But for anyone who hasn't come across you or met you or known you online for many, many years like I have, can you tell us all a little bit about the work that you do and a little bit about your journey to get here?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like you, we're so old school. I started my business in 2015, like 2014, but really 2015. I come from a recruitment HR sales background from a very, like, when I was 20. It took me to Asia, it took me to London, it took me to New York. So it was a very good thing for my life at the time. And then I was living in London for like 8, 9 years. And I was brought onto a brand project.
Mm.
And so this was like we were recruiting 100 consultants over a period of 3 months. They brought a brand agency in. We were doing employer branding. And I kid you not, Catherine, I was like a kid in a candy shop. I was like, what is this? Like, I have never been involved in anything like this. We were talking about strap lines and brand activations and like visuals. And we were doing, events and all the rest of it. And it was all about the messaging that we put out to attract all of our competitors, employees, really. I was working for a big four consulting firm at the time. And it was like, we work at the intersection of think and do. And it was just, I was just like, this is the most fun that
Mm.
I've like had. And that was when the brand bug hit me
Mm-hmm.
or bit me, I should say. And so from that point on, I kind of stayed in recruitment, but I ended up, when I was on maternity leave, working for a consultant who I'd met through work. And I said to her, if you teach me everything that you know, she was a brand consultant, independent, I'll work for you free of charge, like a day a week during my mat leave. And so that experience in London kind of never left me. I was like, okay, I feel like this is the direction I want to start going in now. And so I would, on a Thursday while my baby slept, I would be on Zoom calls, or it was Skype then. That's
Oh
how old.
yeah.
That's how old I
Yeah.
feel. We were on Skype calls, and she was working with brands, and we were like building their Twitter followings. Once again, I'm so aging myself. Twitter, and I feel like it was Instagram as well, but maybe I'm just going to say that to make myself feel better. And so we were growing their audiences and their communities. And this was kind of like how I started. And then when I went back to my corporate job, I said to my CEO, I think that we're really missing an opportunity by not having an employer branding division, which is kind of what I'd done back in London. And she said, go for it. And
Wow.
so, yeah, which that's like a whole other conversation. But I feel like that was kind of where I really got my business chops because
Mm.
I had to build it from scratch. So it was like, what's the offering? What's the pricing? Who are we working with? What's the output? What's the team look like, etc. And I just built that on my own. And
Mm.
so we ended up launching that, and we were launching it to clients that the business already had as like an internal consulting offering. And it just went so well. And I just loved it. Like, it was just so fun for me. So for example, we'd go into really big businesses and we would do a complete brand overhaul of their website, their videography, their photography, their messaging, all the rest of it. And I'd just bring in contractors to supply that. And then we ended up launching that in the Americas and then EMEA as well. And so that was kind of the first time I had built a business where I had a P&L and like we were, needing to generate sales and all the rest of it. And so when I got back to Melbourne from London, I would go to networking events because I'm like, I don't have a network here anymore. I've just been away too long. And I'd go to networking events and I kid you not, I just stand there on my own, or I just found it really boring. And I was just like, what is this? Like, this is not it. And so then I started to create my own events and I didn't even really know what I was going to do. Like, I just thought, okay, I want to build my network. I want to kind of do something. These events are terrible. Like, let me create it and find my people. And so that's what I started to do. And people started to ask me, like, what I was doing. I was working in the brand consulting part-time because I still had little kids.
Yeah.
And so then I just kind of started to help people with their brand and marketing. Like, I'd look at them at what they were doing and I'm like, no, this is not it. And then I would help them. And I ended up helping one of my girlfriends to start building her business. And she just said to me, like, we were doing it on butcher's paper on a dining room table over wine one night. And she was like, you need to do this.
Yeah.
And I was like, do what? And she's like, this, like helping people map out services and products and pricing and positioning and like all of the, and I was like, oh, I love it. It's great. And so she then referred me to a couple of mates. That's like how my business started. Because I was like, I know I want to do something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of built this network. And then I had a really big event in Melbourne in 2015 and I had Lisa Messenger. And I'm always like, if you don't have an audience, borrow somebody else's.
Yeah.
And so in an instant, I then had like 400 people that now knew who I was. And that's kind of how my business kicked off.
That is so cool. I love that so much. Oh my gosh, there's so many things that I want to ask you next though.
That's like the abbreviated version.
I know, but yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, I can see all the pathways that we can take here of like what I want to ask you next. And I think what's really cool about your story is that you did it the way, like the opposite way to how most people start. Your expertise was the thing that is like the heart of starting a business, whereas most people, they come in with a skill set and then they have to figure out how do I market this, how do I create a personal brand, because that is the way to do online business these days. But I think most people don't start a business realizing that that is going to be such a big part of what it is that they have to do.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I feel like a lot of people that I speak to, especially my more introverted folks, like actually really resent having to like do all of the marketing and think of how they're going to position themselves and all of that stuff. They're like, I just want to do the thing that I started my business to do.
I know, and I'm going to say something, and you may disagree, and I am definitely a straight talker, just FYI, and I always say it with love, and I think that when people come into their business, they don't realize this, but it is not an option.
Yes.
Like, it comes with the territory, so you can either go and work for somebody else and just do what you want. Like this, like it's like this, I'm a content writer, I'm a marketing person, I'm a whatever, and I just get to do what I do.
Yeah.
But when you come into business, especially when you're new and you're bootstrapping and, you can't afford a team, it's like you do have to learn all of the tricks of the trade and you do have to be all of those things. But I also think it's a mindset as well around, I know people are going to be like, I get to. Like I get to communicate with and like build relationships with people who I know I can help. And so I just think when it comes to marketing, I think that when we've got a negative idea around marketing, we're doing it because we feel like we have to rather than finding what I call in flow. So for example, like we were saying before we hit record, I can talk underwater. So that is what I focus on when it comes to marketing. I can write. I've written a book. I've written 2 books, but I don't love it. It's not my number one go-to. And so for me, then I'm like, okay, what are all the ways that I could market? So let's say you enjoy writing. Yeah, you don't enjoy video, but you enjoy writing. Then I'm like, okay, so carousels, blog posts, great for SEO, writing on LinkedIn, like whichever platform you need to be on. Substack is huge now. Like whatever your flow is, whatever you're like, this is my best foot forward kind of way of communicating, you've got to decide on that. So, I mean, I've had my podcast for like 10 years as well.
Yeah.
You know, we're talkers. And so that actually brought in like 30% of my clients for years before I ended up doing YouTube.
Yeah.
And so I think that when it comes to marketing, number one, you've just got to decide that it is just part and parcel. And the second thing is how amazing that we get to do this for free.
Yeah.
Which I know people like Instagram's not pushing it. And hey, I get it. I've got like over 16,000 followers and you get like 1,000 views on something. Yeah. But I'm really conscious that I'm like, okay, well, I need to diversify. I need to put my best foot forward. I need to learn as well what works. And it's not about chasing virality or the algorithm, but I do think, like anything, what marketing works. So what content works, what brand positioning works. And I think that you've got to be somebody who is willing to consistently and forever evolve and learn when you're in the business world, because it just evolves so quickly that it's just kind of how it is.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I do agree with you in that, like, you have to really take the time for yourself to decide, am I prepared to do all of these things and learn how to do them to be able to do this part of it, you know, to be able to have my own business and the freedoms that come with it. But also there's ups and downs to both sides as well, right?
Yeah, nothing's ever perfect. Like even when things are seemingly going well, something will break, something will change. The market will be like, oh, that worked yesterday. We're not making that work anymore. And you're like, okay, great. I just figured that out.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, next. And that's the thing, like I talk about this a lot. Like I think it's the resilience and it's the fluidity of the skills that you're building compound. That yes, you might figure something out and then suddenly it stops working and then you have to go figure something else out. But every single time you learn something, it can then be applied to something else. Or it's like, oh yeah, I remember when I did this and now I'm going to try it this way over here. And I think that we can sometimes forget that in amongst the like minutiae of I'm a solopreneur and that I have a never ending to-do list and it feels like I've got to do all of these things and nothing feels like it's working. And every time I try something that is supposed to work, it either doesn't work for me or, like you said, the market changes and then that thing isn't the thing anymore. And now we're all talking about creating artifacts on Claude when, you know, we were just doing workshops last year and, you know, it's just constantly changing.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that, you know, one of the things that we're going to talk about is personal brand. And I think that this is the element that's worth investing in for the longevity because it carries across platform, it carries across changes, you know, it is the people that know you, your reputation, etc. And so I feel like there's like levels as well. It's like you've kind of got, okay, who you are, what you're known for, and how you put that out into the market. Then you've got all those, you know, finicky skills and bits that you've got to learn and do. And then you've got the foundational systems as well. And I feel like this middle bit is always changing. But if you've got like really solid foundations, and I think the mindset is a really solid foundation as well element. It's like, do you have great systems? Do you have great assets? Do you have the right mindset? That's like non-negotiable. That's like you have to have those things. Then it's like, how do I figure all this out that's consistently changing and I've got to work out? And then there's like who I am. And that doesn't really change. Yes, it evolves, but that is also solid. So I think it's just kind of understanding that as well and knowing that it's not everything that you've got to figure out all the time, but it's kind of that middle ground where you've got to just be somebody who's willing to learn and grow in that area.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I love how you explained that. That has just like clicked something into place for me. If you think of it as like a sandwich,
Yeah.
that it's like you've got your foundation business, you've got who you are, and then everything in between, all the trends, all the things that are popular right now, all the tactics, all the new platforms and things, they are going to be constantly changing. Like you're swapping out your sandwich
Your
filling.
fillings. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just like, imagine some days it's pastrami, some days it's cheese. Just depends.
Some days you're like, oh, I really don't like cucumber on a
I don't
sandwich. I'm
like
not
this
doing that.
sandwich. Yeah. This sandwich. Yeah.
Amazing. I love it so much. And that kind of leads me into, I guess, like maybe taking a step back a little bit into, I think when people think about personal branding in particular and they hear those words, that it can sometimes come with certain connotations or assumptions about what personal branding actually is. And so I would love to hear from you, even just like how you think of it and maybe what the biggest misconception you think there is around like when people are coming into business and trying to figure out like what even is this and how do I make it work for me?
Yeah, for sure. So to me, in the like most basic sense of the word, your personal brand is just your reputation and it's all of the things that I think about when I think about you. Now that's where you've got control. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So the way that I look at it and I think about it is that you've got your professional, your personal, and your passion. So what that means is that my professional is where I've come from, what I know, what I do, what I teach you, why you come to me, like all of those skills. And then my personal is like who I am, what I believe, what my opinions are, that unfiltered element. Like I know what you think. Yeah, I know what you
Mm-hmm.
think. I know what you believe. I know who you are.
Yeah.
I know the core. It's like the core of who you are. And then the passion is like what I'm really passionate about. Lychee martinis, fashion, travel, all of those things. And so I think you've, as a business owner, I feel like your professional and your personal, they're kind of a 40-40, like 40%,
Mm-hmm.
40%. And then your passion is maybe 20%. It's kind of more the highlights, the things that you infuse into it, the things that people think about, you know, when you're not around. So I used to wear Gorman a lot. I don't really wear it that much anymore. But, you know, people would take pictures when they
Mm-hmm.
were out and about and they'd take a photo of something from Gorman and they'd DM it to me.
Yeah.
And so it's things, or they're trying a lychee martini in a bar and they send me a picture. Somebody I don't know. Yeah. They're like,
Amazing.
I'm in a bar, I'm in London, I'm having a lychee martini, and I'm thinking of you. And
Yeah,
so
amazing.
your personal brand is really those pieces that come together to form a whole story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And everybody's is completely different. And so this is why, you know, when I think about the people who I really like and I admire and I follow, I can tell you in detail what their brand story is. Like I've heard it many times before.
Yeah.
I know that they were sleeping on the floor of their business, or that, you know, they were a researcher who was scared to get on stage, or that whatever. Like I know how they got to where they are, and that is like a core piece.
Mm-hmm.
But within that, there's a lot of beliefs and opinions that I know that they have. And so there's very much a values alignment there with the people that I follow and that I love. You know, there are certain people who are going to have very different views about things that where I'm like, you're not really my person because I don't
Mm-hmm.
believe what you believe. And I think that sometimes that is something that we miss the opportunity on. And I think it's something that a lot of people fear. And I get
Yes.
it, you know. And I was on another podcast and I was just saying, I'm here for the posts that are like, this is who I am. This is what I believe. This is where I stand. And if you don't like that and that doesn't work for you, it's okay for you to unfollow. I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh my God, those posts. I'm just like, yes, queen. Like, say it. I love it. So I think that it's kind of that mix that we have to think about, and we
Mm-hmm.
get to build that in whatever way works for us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Can I ask as well, just on that, because I feel like something has really shifted in the last few years. And when I have definitely experienced the backlash of having strong opinions about things and strong views, like world views. And that's fine because that's how I feel about it. That it's like, if you don't agree with that, that is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
You are more than welcome to leave. And actually,
Yeah.
I wish that you would. But it takes a certain level of confidence, experience, like real conviction in what you believe in. And I think a level of like personal like nervous system regulation or like safety within your body, that you're okay with that. And like, not that it doesn't like feel bad when you find out that someone who you thought you had like a values alignment with is just like completely opposite views to you, and you have to deal with that. But I know that, as you said yourself, like a lot of people are like scared to share things. And I feel like in the last few years in the online space, especially on social media, it has become a particularly volatile place to be. There is a lot of binary, there is a lot of lack of nuance, and a kind of even just like media literacy that has started to really become apparent, that people are not stopping and critically thinking about things that they're reading and posting, and that is leading to like a lot of just like inflammatory kind of energy around the online space. So for people who might be listening to this and thinking like, I'm scared to share my opinions or my views of the world because of, you know, potentially what other people will think, which is a really real fear, and how unsafe that can sometimes feel for, you know, for us in our nervous system. Do you have any thoughts or like anything that you can share there that would help people to find their way with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a choice, and I think it's fine, whatever you choose. So that's the first thing I'm going to say. Like, not all of us need to be out there with our banners flying, and that's okay. I think that's a very personal choice. And you make the decisions that you make and the values that you have and the stand that you take through where you spend your dollars and how you show up and all the rest of it. Like, I'm never going to tell somebody how they need to show up.
Yeah.
But I think what I would say is that if you want to have an opinion, if you want to put it out there, then I think that it's about, and you find that scary and nerve-wracking, I think that the first thing I would say is that start small. Like, you don't need to put it on a banner somewhere, but you know, just start to practice it so that it starts to feel safer in your body is the first thing. The second thing is, what's the point? Like, why do you want to share it? That conviction piece, a lot of people have a stronger conviction about being public about what they think and how they feel. You know, there is that whole thing around celebrities being told that they need to have an opinion on certain political things or what's happening out there. And I think all of us have a choice. Nobody gets to tell you whether you have to share your opinion or not. I think that you've got to make a decision for yourself what that looks like. For me, I am very clear with my clients about where I stand politically sometimes with certain things. You've got to decide whether it matters enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, there's some things where I'm just like, I'm not educated enough on that, or I don't know enough about that, or you know, and I can't be educated and know about everything in detail as well. So I think you've got to pick and choose your battles. There are certain things that are very out there in the market where I'm like, I don't agree with that. It's not something I would support. You know, this is why I'm moving off ChatGPT for political and financial, like their financial stance reasons. And like you do you.
Yeah.
That's me. That's how I feel. And so that's where I'm going to, you know, make a decision. But I also, you know something, and I just did a post that had quite a lot of very long comments on it around AI, where I'm like, I am actually having an internal struggle. And I think that we need to be open to the conversation of being in the process of evolving and learning.
Yes.
And not put pressure on people to know everything, to agree with us, all the rest of it. I think us being open to that conversation. So my thing was, I love Claude. I have had Claude running all weekend, doing back-end things in my business whilst I was off doing other things. I also, during the weekend, listened to 2 podcasts that informed me about the massive social impact and environmental impact that AI is having. And now I'm in a conundrum because I'm like, I really love this thing, but it's having a bad impact, but it's not going anywhere. As my husband says, the genie's out of the bottle. And so then I'm in like, do I get left behind if I don't do it? But do I do values alignment if I take a stand? Like, I am in a process of learning and figuring out what that looks like to me.
Yeah.
And I'm not scared to say it. And some people have got strong opinions about it, and I'm okay with that. So the other thing I want to say is that if you are somebody where you're like, I want to share my opinion, the other thing you have to come into that with is you are going to have people who have other opinions, and you have to be okay with that. And I think that's the thing. It's like, I don't expect everybody to agree with me. I am open to debate. I'm always open to learning, and so I'm okay with that too. So as long as you're not expecting everybody to agree with you when you have a strong opinion about something, I think that's the other thing, the nuance of it. You've got to come in and be like, this is what I think. Yeah. Obviously I'm never okay with attack, like people who attack you or who are, extreme about stuff. That's an instant block for me. Yeah. If you want to respectfully share your opinion and be part of the conversation, I'm totally here for it. But I have a non-negotiable around any kind of extreme response that is not respectful.
Yeah, or productive. It's not really helping move the conversation along. It's not necessarily helping you to form an opinion that is the opposite of the one that you currently hold, if it just comes from a place of, not being productive at all. And it is difficult to navigate, and it is something that we have to think about. And I hate that we have to give everything a little disclaimer now. Of course you don't agree with being abused online. Everything feels like it has to have a disclaimer now. But even just in saying about the AI piece of it, I think that that's a really interesting conversation that we absolutely should be having in terms of data security and the environmental impact. And like you said, it's not going anywhere. What does that look like for us? And so when we bring it back then to building a personal brand, being this little solopreneur competing with the huge output that's available with AI, and just how much of it is absolute slop. When I think about your 3 things that you just explained to us, I can see how that can cut through the AI, because it has none of that. It doesn't have passion. It doesn't have the personal of the things that people get to know you and know and associate with you. But can you talk a little bit about maybe what you've seen as this has become very rapidly something that's changed in the online space, and what you are maybe recommending or testing out for yourself right now of how to work with AI, if that's something you want to do, but also how to cut through all that noise?
Yeah, so I'll give you my thoughts at the moment on it. So for me, I use it for a lot of back-end systems to do what I call grunt work. So it's stuff that I may not have ever done because it was too big a job. And so I'll give you an example. Sort out my Dropbox, sort out my Gmail, go and do, I've got a website, I've been in business 10 years, go and sort out my SEO. It's stuff that I would just never, I'm never going to do that. It's just too massive. I'm not going to go through 15 gigabytes of data to figure out what I need to delete. It's too hard basket. So it's a lot of that sort of stuff. I also use it for tech. So I'll give you an example is that I feel like I'm generally good at tech, and sometimes I'm really dumb at tech. So for example, I'll just be asking it questions where I'm just can you just fix the reCAPTCHA on this page for me? I can't figure it out, blah, blah, blah. I always say to my clients, I'm like a toddler sometimes with AI, where I'm just what else can we do? How else can this look? What have I missed? Where's the gap? Can you fix this for me? It's like my IT support. Claude is like an IT support for me. I'm like, this isn't working. Can you fix it? And then it goes in and it fixes it. And I'm like, yay. So for me, it's a lot of back end stuff and it's a lot of system stuff and automation. Yeah. Now, a lot of tools, that we use have got AI built into it. So it's kind of already helping us to get efficiencies there. Yeah. What I don't use it for is writing and ideas. And so I will get it to, I'll speak into it and I'll be like, right, I've got this idea. This is what I think. This is how I want it to work. These is the stories, blah, 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 blah. And I'll just do a bit of a brain dump. And then it will help me to bring some order to that and be like, I think that what you said here kind of stood out the most. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was a really good thing. I didn't even remember I said that. And so this is kind of how I'm using it a bit is to sort through my IT support, grunt work, and to help me sort through ideas and stuff that I have. And then I go and I write. So for example, when I do my podcast on my YouTube, I'll take the transcript, which is all me, and then I'll get it to repurpose that. And I've got very strong brand voice guidelines in the back end of Claude so that when it writes now, I'm like, bang on, baby. Yes, that is exactly what I said. Yeah. So that's the first thing. And then really the thing that, like I said, I'm not doing is getting it to create social posts, etc. But when it comes to your personal brand, I think that this is where you can really go bigger because it's the people online who are showing more of their personality where it doesn't need to be polished and perfect and highly edited. That personally for me, I'm finding that I'm really connecting with more. It was really interesting. I was thinking the other day, there have been a number of people where they were immediate follow for me, where I didn't know them. I hadn't really seen them before, but their reel popped up. And I watched it and I'm like, immediate follow. And I was thinking the other day, what made me do that? And it was really their creativity. It was really their opinion and their point of view on something. And so I'm like, I think I might create a piece of content, which was who have been immediate follows for me and why. Because I think that just understanding that for yourself is important. I'm a fashion girly, and so I really love people who show a lot of color and what's coming in and how, they've got their own businesses and all the rest of it. But that is their passion. So if we think about the three circles, they might be a business owner, but they're talking about their passion, which is new prints that are coming out for the next season. But the girl that I'm thinking about, she owns a magazine and she's a writer, and so that's her profession. So this is the rabbit hole that you fall down when you use this, is that I see your reel, oh my God, I love this, follow. Then I go and I look at the rest of her content. I'm like, oh my God, this is so my vibe, love you. Then I go and I click on her link, and then now I'm on her website. And all this happens within the space of around about 5 to 10 minutes, where now I'm looking at what has she got? Oh, what's the magazine? Whatever. But she actually said, I'm the editor-in-chief of this magazine. This is what I do. And then she kind of went on to talk about what she was passionate about and how blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And so I've been kind of looking at that. So one of the things I would say is that if you are somebody who consumes, which most of us are, if you're a business owner, I want you to be more analytical or more observant about the people that catch your attention and why they catch your attention. And then I want you to think about how you're potentially doing that. So, and I don't mean copying them, but if that caught your attention, then if you did something similar that was you, not them, that could work for you too. And I think this is where we've kind of got to be testing. We've got to be observing, understanding, and testing. It's like, why do I love that? Yeah. Could I use that? Because would I enjoy creating that? Would I enjoy sharing that? And I think a lot of times we don't share often our passions. Yeah. And I actually think that's the kind of sticky stuff. It's not stuff that you'd be sharing all the time, but it is the sticky stuff that people remember and make you feel relatable and so like somebody that they can connect with.
Yeah.
And so if you're just like business, 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 and you're like, I feel soulless doing it and my content feels soulless, and so I don't enjoy marketing, you've got to then start testing and, you know, kind of trying different things that you do enjoy, so that it makes it easier for you to market yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Like, why? Yeah, why would it not be something that if you have to do it, why would you not find a way to make it fun to do it and
Yeah.
share those parts of yourself?
Yeah.
And I think that's how you compete with all the AI stuff that's out there,
Yeah.
because that's the personality, right? That's the little sprinkle on top that
Yeah.
makes people connect, like you said, connect with you 100%.
Yeah. And just so that you know, I did lip sync an 80s ballad the other
It
day.
was so good though.
And like, you know why? Because I'm just like, that's fun for me.
Yeah.
That appeals to probably my client base.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, why not? Because that's part of my passion. I am such a music girl. And so I think that sometimes we take ourselves a little too seriously as well.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, think about what's fun for you. And like I said, I'm not gonna lip sync 80s ballads every day. I would, but you know, every now and again you sprinkle that in. And I think you've got to find like what you love.
Yeah, and that's such an interesting thing because it does make me think about when I talk to people how much they compartmentalize business. And I think that's where it can become something that is taken too seriously because it's like, oh no, I have to do it this. It needs to look like this. And all of this other part of me doesn't exist, you know, it exists in my real world life. And then I've got all this stuff going on and all these circumstances that I'm living with. And then I'm, you know, trying to do that whilst also like having this little tiny box that the business fits within. And I actually think that the key to creating something sustainable is to not compartmentalize it like that.
I think you would get bored very quickly if you do that. Like if you're not passionate about what you're putting out there, if you're not like, if you don't like it, like if you don't, I think this is the other thing. If you don't look at your content, and I'm going to be honest, like I don't look at all my content and think, oh, that was so good.
The 80s ballad was amazing though. Let's face it. There's no denying that.
Yeah, it was fun. But, you know, this is the thing is like, is it valuable enough that somebody would save it? Is it fun enough that somebody would connect with it? Is it helpful enough that somebody would like comment and be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know this? Or that's, I appreciate you sharing that you haven't landed on an opinion or you're in a process of learning. And I think sometimes we feel like we have to have all the answers.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when we are honest about the fact that something is hard, you know, one of my most, like my highest engagement pieces of content was, it was like 2025 was the worst year I've ever had in business in 10 years. Can I tell you? Like that was a carousel. Yeah. And that had the highest engagement. And I don't do it for the engagement, but I think that when we're honest and we're like, I'm trying to work this out, or this was something that was kind of really crappy that happened, but I'm like, this is what I learned from it, or this is like where I'm at now. We want the realness. We want the stories. We want to know the lessons that you've learned. And I just think when people don't do that, you're missing an opportunity for the connection and the relatability piece that you've worked something out and I can learn from that.
Yeah, absolutely. I talk about documenting all the time as like the core way to like position, like to share that something you're also living through is something that somebody else might be, but also like, here's what I've figured out so far. And I have a solution or at least a step for you to take, which I think is so much more helpful and real than like we came up in the coaching and online business era of like position yourself as an expert, fake it till you make it, and you know, be that kind of guru. And we now exist in a world that it's so aspirational, is so far away from most people's real experience that everyone's sick of that. They want to see that you're in the trenches, that you're trying new things, that you're doing something new, that you're a real person. And I 100% agree with you. Like, sharing from that place is so much easier to connect with than trying to be the expert when you probably aren't. Like, you're still figuring stuff out, because we all are.
Things change so fast.
Yeah,
It's hard
exactly.
to be an expert now. Like, even it's almost like detrimental to say I've got 20 years of marketing experience, because it's
Yeah.
like marketing completely flipped on its head in the last 12 months. What you learn in the last 20 years,
Yeah, it
whilst
doesn't mean anything.
it may be helpful to a point, it's not relevant right now. And so I think that, we've just got to, when I think about it's, somebody who gets online and then gets 150,000 followers in a month or in 3 weeks, you know who they are? They're the person who just lost their job, and the person who's trying to figure it out, and they're just trying to create a digital product, and they're flipping furniture, and they're like taking people on the
Sharing it.
journey. Like, that's who's like getting 150,000 followers in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why? Because people are like, I want to see you win. Like, I want to watch what you do. And I think that is, I see that every day,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So I think that sometimes we've got to be open enough. I don't know about your audience, but my audience have been with me for the last 5 to 10 years. So they're not newbies. And I think that sometimes that longevity in business can be shackles for us because we haven't learned to just kind of be like, "Ugh," like kind of let it all hang out a bit, because we're like, I've got a reputation that I need to maintain.
Yeah.
And I think that not to just, put it all out there, but I also think that what is the journey you're going on now? So for me, I'm now building BVC. Like, I'm building my consulting business. I'm taking on fractional CMO roles. I'm doing speaking. I'm really embracing the portfolio career, because I'm like, I kind of miss consulting.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, okay, so, for me, that needs to be something that I start to maybe share a bit more as far as the journey goes, rather than once it's all done, I'm like, ta-da, kind of.
That's like you get to see the outside before you've got to see how you got there. Yeah, I love that. Oh my God, I hope you do that.
Yeah, so
Please
I'm
do.
kind of right in it at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's been it's exciting. And I'm just building my network in a really new and different way, which I'm kind of like really excited about as well. But yeah, I just think you've got to think about what is the journey that you're on now, and how can you take your community, because that's who they are.
Yeah.
People always used to say to me, how do you get on stories? I'm like, literally, I'm thinking about the person who's on the other side, where I'm just like, when they always say to you, don't say good morning on stories, it's a waste of time. And I'm like, go climb a tree. Like, people send me messages and they're like, I love it when you say good morning. Like, I don't feel like I'm alone. And this is the other thing. You've got to do what works for you. You can't always be listening to the gurus who tell you have to do it a certain way. And I'm like, I will sell in my stories and I will create value, but I'm also going to say hi and be human and show you my outfit for the day, because that's cool to me. That's fun. I want to have fun.
Yeah, and it matters. Like, it makes a difference, because people can feel the energy behind it when it's a deeply transactional connection versus a real one. Yeah.
So,
oh my God, I've loved this so much. I just have to ask you one quick question. I know you've sort of just said like where you're at right now and what you're doing, but is there one thing that you're just so excited about right now that you're experimenting with, or a platform that you're playing with, or anything at all that you can share with us today?
I mean, I am excited. I am very much stepping into the portfolio career. I've always talked about building my C-suite, which is a very corporate term, but it's like courses, coaching, consulting, content, conferences, speaking. I'm just like, I just kind of want to do it all. You know, people are like, you need to niche down and just do one thing. That is not me. I am like a maximalist, not a minimalist. And so I'm just like, I want to work with awesome companies. I want to work with awesome founders. I want to create cool content. I want to speak on stages. Like, for me, I'm just, and this is where that may not be right for you, but that's right for me. And this is where knowing ourselves and being like, okay, what's available to me? What could I do? How could this look? You know, it is the year of the horse. Is it the year of the horse? It is the year of the horse, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're selling our house. We're like, where do we want to live? Like, what do we want to do? I'm just like in an energy of new. And I think that if you feel stuck, if you feel like you're like in the trenches of stuff, the only thing that I can say is that you're the only one that can shake it up. And you've got to look at the opportunities that are available to you and just go after them. Like, that's what I'm excited about. I'm just like, who knows where we'll be in a year? And I'm kind of okay with that. My businesses look the same for a long time. And this year, there is some big shifts.
Mic drop. That was it. That was
Why
like the
not?
perfect way to finish this incredible conversation. I feel like I could literally talk to you all day and pick your brain. But thank you so much for just bringing everything and so many amazing gems and nuggets to take away from our chat today. For everyone who's listening who absolutely wants to now go and check out your work and see your 80s power ballads and follow along with what you're doing right now, what's the best way for them to come and connect with you further?
Yeah, so it's suzchadwick.com, so SUZ and then Chadwick, and I'm Suz Chadwick on all platforms. And then I've got the podcast, The Brand Builders Lab, as well. So you can come and check me out there. Come say hi. Let me know that you found me through this podcast. And yeah, always up for that.
Thank you so much, Suz. It was just wonderful to get to actually meet you in person. And I love that we've come full circle on that you're exactly what I expected you to be. And I really think at the heart of it, that's what really good personal branding is.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. Love this chat.